This video is an overview of the Unit 2 Comparative Writing Graphic Organizer. So before you get started on this assignment, please make sure you go to your grades in D2L and check your feedback on the brainstorming assignment where you have selected your 2 new articles for Unit 2 and you've filled in your comparison grid. The reason that your feedback is so important, it's so important to check your feedback, is because in part 3, when you wrote your 2 possible questions, I am going to be providing you with feedback on either picking one to use for the essay, or perhaps combining the 2 questions together, or perhaps starting with a new question. So you first want to make sure you've checked that feedback. Also, you want to make sure that you have your articles approved. Every once in a while, someone will submit one of these assignments and I just cannot approve one of the articles because it does not fulfill the guidelines. Lastly, you'll want to make sure you have this assignment ready to go because you can use some of the work you've already done in order to fill out the graphic organizer. So this graphic organizer is going to help you plan out your comparative research essay. So if you would like, you can go ahead and go forward to the essay assignment and review that video as well. But basically, this planner is going to build on your brainstorming assignment and prepare you to write your essay. This is the only stage of the writing process where you will get additional feedback. There is no rough draft for Unit 2. And this assignment is worth 50 points. So you're going to want to click the planner and open that up. And then you are going to complete this planner, this graphic organizer, whatever you want to call it, in order to get ready for your essay. So as with your previous planner, you want to make sure that you have in-text citations for all of your source material. You want to make sure you have a draft of all of your reference entries. And keep in mind, APA style requires you to paraphrase the vast majority of your source material. And even paraphrasing requires an in-text citation. So this paper is going to be, I think, 4 to 6 pages. So that means really no more than 2 or 3 direct quotes. Everything else should be paraphrased. So in the introduction, you can use both first and third person point of view. But again, you're going to begin with some context here. So why is this issue important in society? And why is this issue controversial? So by the time you prepare for this particular planner, you have already a dearth of information. You have your 2 articles from Unit 1 that you've learned, and now you have 2 more articles that you've learned about this issue with. So by this point in time, you should really be able to give some depth in your response to this question. Why it's an important issue. You know, think the basics, who, what, when, where, why, how, but now you should be giving significantly more detail about the importance of this issue, of how it impacts citizens, of what some of the outcomes could be, or the effects, or the causes. And then, of course, you have to discuss the controversial nature of your topic at this point in time. Then you're going to transition to listing the synthesis question. So which of the 2 questions from your previous brainstorming assignment are you going to use, or are you writing a new one? But what is the overarching question that both of your new articles for Unit 2 answer? So that's going to be your introduction. Now, the next section of this essay is going to be background. And this is where you're going to introduce both of your articles. Unlike Unit 1, where you had to write a full-blown summary, in Unit 2, you do not have to write a full-blown summary of either article, but you do need to tell us the title and the author. You need to tell us what the main idea is. You need to talk about the purpose and the audience of the articles. So it's not a summary, but it is going to have some basic information so that way your audience understands the basics of these 2 articles, because the whole purpose of this Unit 2 paper is to compare the perspectives that are being offered in these 2 articles. So in order to understand the perspectives, we have to know a little bit about the main idea, the purpose, and the audience. Then, if either of your articles bring up any concepts or ideas that need to be explained or defined, you want to do that in the background section. So as you continue diving deeper into your topic, there might be some vocabulary or some laws. I always think about this in terms of like a law or maybe a protocol that comes up with your topic. And there are important things that your audience needs to understand as you continue to develop your essay. So this would be where you would explain those key ideas, those concepts, those laws. Maybe there's some key people, whatever it is that we need to know in order to understand the rest of this comparison essay. So that's going to be in the background information paragraph. So now you're going to be looking at the first question or claim from your comparing perspectives grid. So when you did that brainstorming grid, you had to come up with 3 or 4 mini questions that were addressed in both articles. And then those 3 or 4 mini questions all built up to that overarching synthesis question. So you're going to take the 2 most important of those mini questions from your comparison grid, and you're going to use those as the foundation for each of these paragraphs. So what is the first question or claim? If you want to state it as a statement, you'll turn the question into a claim. But what's the first one you're going to discuss? Then you're going to tell me what Article 1 has to say about it, and then what Article 2 has to say about it. And for 1, 2, and 3, you already have a lot of those notes done on your brainstorming activity. But on your brainstorming activity, it's really just the textual evidence. What I'm going to be looking for when I look at your planners is not only the textual evidence from both articles, but then the tie-in. How are you going to tie these authors' points together? So how are both of these authors answering that overarching synthesis question? So it's kind of like we have multiple layers of questions that are getting answered that are all leading up to this big overarching synthesis question. So you have to make sure on your planner and in your essay that you're tying those points together. Are they in agreement? Are they in disagreement? Are they kind of in agreement but for different reasons? So you're going to really have to articulate not just what the articles say in order to answer the small questions, but how that all ties together to answer the overarching synthesis question. Now at the top, I have some reminders. When you are planning your body paragraphs, remember CSAT format. You have your claim, or you can write it as a question if you want, but you have to have a setup with your textual evidence. So you can do some sort of introductory citation, with your in-text citation, or you can do the parenthetical at the end. If you do a parenthetical at the end, make sure whether you paraphrase or whether you quote, you still set it up. You've got to provide some context and some sort of setup with all of your evidence. Then you'll repeat that process with your second question from your comparing perspectives grid. And remember, this should be like the big 2, the 2 most important ideas that are brought up in those articles. And so if you want to write it as a question, you can. Otherwise, you can restate it as a claim statement. But again, you're going to tell me how both articles answer that mini question, if you will. And then how does all of that come together? Oh, we're missing a letter. How does all of that come together to tie in and answer the overarching synthesis question? This is where I'm going to see your original thinking, your ideas, and you tying it all together. So that's going to be a paragraph for each of those claims or questions. And then you're going to have a paragraph in the first person point of view where you are kind of bringing it all together. So now it's time to talk about you. In both of these paragraphs, you've told me what these other authors think and kind of tied in what the others think. Now it's time to put yourself into this topic. You're going to also become a thinker of this topic. So what is it that you think about it? How did reading these articles add to or change your existing opinions? What personal experience or knowledge do you have that inform your opinion on the issue? And of course, what further research might be needed in order to fully kind of answer this synthesis question and your overarching debatable question. So after you've examined what other people think, now it's time to position yourself into this topic, to position yourself into this conversation, if you will. I think of it like this. When you're learning something for the first time, you're going to listen to what your teacher says. Maybe you're going to ask your friends about it and listen to what they have to say. Maybe you're going to do some research on your own and do a little bit of reading about what others have to say, experts in the field. And only after you've taken into account what all of these other ideas are, then it allows you to have a much more fully informed idea or opinion or understanding of the topic. And so that's kind of what we're doing in this paper. We're comparing what two authors say or two articles say, and then we're putting ourselves into the mix with what we have to say and how we learned about it and what we still need to find out, because we're not really being critical thinkers if we're not also thinking, okay, well, I've learned now, this information, what's next? What do I still need to learn? So that is what you will be doing in the exploratory synthesis paragraph. Then in the conclusion, now that you've done this comparison, what's your biggest takeaway? And what final thought are you going to leave the audience with? How are you going to tie it all up and wrap it all up? And just like with our previous planner in Unit 1, I want a draft of your reference entries on your planner. So make sure you review the APA resources and make sure if you are using articles from a database that you select APA 7 when you use the citation button in those databases. And of course, everything that you need is going to be linked in the assignment. So if you need to review in-text citations and references, you can click this link right here and review that assignment. So once you're done with your planner, make sure you save it. You'll upload it into D2L, and then I will take a look at it and provide you with feedback before you write your complete essay on these two articles, your two new articles comparing comparative research, so comparing perspectives. As always, if you have any questions, reach out and let me know. Thank you.